You're watching the 2023 City of Detroit Political Overview with Khary Frazier of Detroit is Different and Malachi Barrett of Bridge Detroit. What mayor of Detroit Matters in 2023 received the most attention from Bridge Detroit readers? Why do you think that as well?
Man, we're gonna keep talking about taxes, huh? We're talking about the land value tax now.
Land value tax. Now, let me give a little bit of what I know what this is.
Yeah, and I'll let you know how you do. Yeah.
And then then give me my grade on what I know of this, because in classic Duggan administration form, like usual, a lot of community meetings and groups led a lot by some of the allies that have been partners in the administration for some time now, led. And then I get a phone call from some of the people from Detroiters for Tax Justice, like, oh, I don't like this plan, and da-da-da. And then I looked at that. Then I had to unpack it. Reading some of your columns actually educated me on this, but let's break it down easy and simple. This is the Khary definition. Detroit is different. The land value tax is going to lower the tax rate that certain people that own properties pay. And it's going to raise the tax rate of a lot of, as they say, quote unquote, vacant spaces and vacant land throughout the city of Detroit where things aren't developed on. So in some ways, it's like it's going to make a homeowner say, okay, that's cool because I pay a little bit less. But for people like me that own multiple lots, I can only imagine what direction this is headed in when we still actually, as a person that owns multiple lots, I'm still pretty angry about the water tax that is the runoff fee that I still don't necessarily know if the efficiency of what's happening, like I say, like the main drains and the, like, how effective is this sewer system that you're saying that the runoff is going into when a lot of times this stuff is clogged up in the first place? Like,
yeah, we've been meaning to look at that one for a while.
You know what I'm saying? But
you're pretty close. So basically, it would create two different tax rates. It would lower the tax on land that has a structure on it.
So. It on some, because it's like the way that it was written was real vague. Like it'll lower it, like if you're in a zone, back to now that mean, median, and mode. Mode means like what shows up the most or whatever, meaning like some will receive a little bit, like an incremental change. Some may receive a larger change, but it's nothing like where things go. And I also don't like it because this is kind of like I'm not even going to say it like that. This can be looked at as this is the way that we're going to address what happened to everybody that was overtaxed by helping them. But now you're going to overtax the vacant land, or the, as you say, the land without structures.
Yeah, so it would basically cut the operating millage, which is one of the taxes that the city charges people on property.
Yeah.
On a portion of your land that has a structure on it. A structure can be your house, it can be a fence, it can be a driveway, it can be a garage, it can be basically anything that was like built on top of like the physical land.
Yeah.
And then meanwhile, it would increase taxes on land that doesn't have anything on it. So everybody's assessment notice will give you, if this goes through, which is, it's kind of a long way from happening. We can talk about that in a minute. We'll kind of explain, what goes up and what goes down. And the argument is that for most homeowners, this will provide an immediate, like automatic universal tax cut, because most of the value of your property is tied up in the house, and it's going to cut the value, or it'll cut the taxes on that, and it'll raise them a little bit on the land. But, unless you've got like a giant lot, you're not going to see a tax increase. The mayor has said that like 97% of homeowners in the city are actually going to see a tax reduction. How much is that? It really, really varies. Like he's done community meetings this year where they actually have this tool online. You can go on the city's website, type in your address. It'll tell you about what you're paying now and what you can expect to see. And I've seen the savings range between $50 to $100 to like several $100s.
Incremental, as I say, depending upon where you at. That's what I don't. Thank you for definitely coming with the journalism perspective. I came with the Detroit is different.
Yeah.
But for what's going to happen versus, someone like me, in this Detroit is different footprint where we did a lot of studio and stuff, 6 plots of land, I'd imagine that may go up possibly 300 to 400%.
Yeah, I mean, you should plug those in and see. There are some carve outs.
Mm-hmm.
You're gonna be paying more on some of those lots for sure. If you own up to 3, it's either up to 3 or 4. Go check out reporting on bridgedetroit.com because I can't quite remember off the top of my head. If you have up to 3, I think, side lots, those are exempted. But if you have more than that, then you're gonna have to pay more. And that the idea was, for a long time, the land bank was trying to make it easier for people to buy side lots so that people could do something with them. Put a community garden on it. Extend your backyard, do something other than just letting it sit there. So they don't want to punish those people. There's also carve outs for community gardens and public spaces. So like if your block club, turned a lot into a playground or even just kind of keeps it open space for people to hang out in. If the block club signs up with the assessor's office, they should be exempt. Urban gardens will be exempt from those increases as well. So they've tried to create some carve outs there. What the mayor has said, really what they're trying to do is crack down on land speculators that have bought up a bunch of vacant land and are sitting on them. But what I've been curious about and what I think you're speaking to is for people that are not, millionaires, billionaires, and have bought up some land and are doing some things with them, but you own more than 3, but less than 60. Yeah, we'll say, you're not creating a burden on the neighborhood. You're not letting these properties sit and become blighted. You're trying to do things with them. Those people in the middle and on the lower land, are they going to be disproportionately punished by this as well?
Well, I think it creates a barrier of entry where it lends itself to the only people that will be in the game are people that will can
absorb the cost.
It kind of like a lot of the marijuana stuff. Do you have the reserves on? Do you have $2 million you can be having the reserves? It'll be like a barrier of entry, and that's what I don't like. I'm definitely for more people taking advantage of the land that does exist, but we're finding out that resource that's in abundance of Detroit is going to become more and more scarce and more inaccessible, or I shouldn't say, it'll not be as easy to access, and it's going to become more and more scarce as time goes on.
It definitely becomes cost prohibitive if you can't develop on it quickly. I think that's a valid concern because there are people that, we were just talking earlier about the development climate is even tough for billionaires. But if you're,
I know that's a tough thing to say, especially from him from Bridge and me from Detroit is different. But I'm looking at life on the whole spectrum, everybody.
If you are trying to get the financing together to develop on this property, increasing the taxes is going to theoretically make it a little bit harder for you. So I think, there's a lot of things that you can look at and you can especially a universal tax cut for property owners. If you just own a house and you want to save some money on your property taxes, which again, Detroit has much higher property taxes than than the metro region as a whole. People who live here are way overburdened in their taxes. It connects to everything we've been talking about so far. That's something that looks good, but what is this going to do long term? How is this going to change people's behavior? Is it going to lead to more development? Is it going to lead to more abandonment? Is it going to make it tougher for people who don't have a lot of money to throw around to get involved in the game and maybe start developing some stuff on their block and trying to turn around their neighborhood? I don't know. I mean, those are huge questions that we're going to have to grapple with over the next year. And just to kind of give you a sense of where the land value tax proposal is at, this is something that needs to get passed in the legislature. It was unsuccessful. The bills were introduced summer of last year and didn't really get anywhere. So they're going to try again. Governor Whitmer told us when she was in town earlier this week that she's supportive of it if it passes. But there's a lot going on with the legislature right now. So is this a priority for them? Or are these going to get across the board? We're going to see how effective the mayor is in getting lawmakers on his side for this.
Yeah. Definitely. And more points to add, but I want to get to the next question.